But Kostalton isn't real. He can't hurt you. Unless you're in this battle, in which case he is definitely very real, and he can and will hurt you. It's the Dwarfs versus Kislev. Yeah, two factions who I feel like we haven't featured a lot on the channel recently, so I'm putting together this replay for you here today, courtesy of Stormrunner, who is playing a Dwarf fighter in our ongoing D&D campaign, and yeah, friend of the channel, obviously. His Dwarf fighter had been the character to get the most cursed in the campaign up until recently. Gant stepped up to the plate and had both of his characters get cursed. But anyway, let's talk about the replay here instead of D&D. How about that, huh? We got Cossfight Dervishes and some Armored Kossars up front. A couple of Zargard, great weapons, including the ROR. Kostalton leading the way. Witch Hag, Allure Hag. I love that Hag Witch Hag. That's just so funny to me, just visually. Griffin Legion, a couple of Snow Leopards. Interesting build for sure. Cossfight Dervishes. I mean, other than the Hag, doesn't really have any chariots, right? So, should be interesting. As for the Dwarfs, Belagar, Ironhammer leading the way. We've got Dwarf Warriors up front. We've got some Thunderers as a second line here. Longbeards, some Gyros as well. We've got Brimstone Guns. And a unit of Bombers. And some more Brimstone Guns here. The Bombers are going to go out, chase those Dervishes, which, to be honest, is a waste of time and resources, but from Stormrunner's perspective, it is very nice, because he can then just focus on this infantry fight here. Dwarf player charging in Dread Column formation, no doubt to get the Kislev troops to kind of line up in such a way the guns can fire into the sides of the unit as they kind of wrap around, but let's see if that ends up working here. Yeah, it does seem fairly effective. The Thunderers are certainly able to get some volleys returning fire. It's not withering so far. They are, well, what, like 3-on-1 unit right here. This unit, Stormrunner kind of loads up all his Griffin Legion on one flank. Definitely a smart move to just load up a lot of resources on the one side, try and punch through, get on some of these Thunderers. You see some of that Hag magic coming in there as well. So, yeah, Forbidden Fens Frostbite plus charge speed reduction is very interesting. Just going to slow this entire flank, make sure they can take them all out. Meanwhile, the Bomber and the Flame Gyros come back, realizing their mistake. But the thing about them, a lot of these Kislev units have pretty good armor, and the Flame Gyros in particular don't have the best AP values. I do think the Steam Gyros are definitely a better choice here, but ooh, we're going to get some bombs. Nice, good timing on the bombing run there from the Dwarf player. It's one pass. Ooh, didn't get on the second pass, though. As Kislev's Griffin Legion, Cossfight Dervishes continue to run around this back line. Cossfight Dervishes also just occupying the Thunderers' time. The one Zargard did get completely crushed there on that melee engagement with the supporting gunfire. And the Regiment Renowned Zargard also, well, they're doing much better. They managed to punch through here. Stalton's taking a beating from Belagar. But let's get in close and watch these guys. Absolutely beautiful. Kostalton's certainly not a match for Belagar in terms of just raw melee combatant skill, but he has some good survivability traits that might make him surprisingly hard for Belagar to actually kill. So we'll see here. I don't know if Stormrunner actually brought a lot of those, but we can check that in a minute. Right now, the Flame Gut Gyros just kind of ineffectively shooting into Griffin Legion here as they, yeah, they're expending quite a bit of ammunition for not much damage. Another bombing run on this Armored Kossar randomly. Yes, nice. They've used all their ammunition and just kind of chilling, watching the fight. Maybe a little tactical reserve right now, but let's soak up some more cinematics. We can kind of fit everything on screen, more or less. Beautiful, beautiful game, certainly. Two factions you don't always see fighting each other, but definitely an interesting matchup. Hag Witch has been getting some value, both running around and shooting, about almost 500 so far. Yeah, she's one of the few things here. I mean, I guess her and then the Kossar pistols here, Armored Kossar pistols, can actually fire back gyros, but it looks like a lot of Kossar pistols use their somewhat limited ammunition already, so at this point, all Stormrunner can really do is just try and weather the storm, but wow. Belagar actually goes down here. I didn't even catch that, but both the Snow Leopards plus Kostalton go 3v1 with the supporting Zargard, and that's enough to dispatch even Belagar's very stellar stats. Interesting stuff. Now we see more hag magic being used there. Can't say it's a lore I'm particularly familiar with, but yeah, mostly just taking the reduced missile block and armor chance. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, even though you don't have a ton of range units to synergize with here. And then the speed is an interesting one. Just really try and control the dwarf's movements. Another part of that, though, is the vigor damage, basically, right? That will actually decrease your opponent's stats pretty significantly, and dwarfs in particular, losing that armor from exhaustion really, really hurts. So yeah, you can see how all the Kislev troops are actually fresh. That's interesting. I've never would have thought to use the vigor drain on that, but it seems fairly effective. Able to get it on a number of different units here. And then, does he have a vigor refresh? Is it these guys? They have a vigor refresh? Yeah. Okay, that's probably what it is. They just use that. So it's interesting to kind of combo these two abilities to create that extra disparity between the units, right? I mean, Zargard, especially the Regiment of Renown, would pretty much clean up most units here in melee anyway, but it certainly is interesting. I do like the synergy and the usage there of those two abilities in tandem. And all to do at this point is basically just wait until the gyros run out of ammunition and realize that they can't win this on their own. But the few brave Kossar pistols that remain will fire back into the sky, and for their efforts get summarily roasted here. And what a Chad, just standing in the flamethrower, just taking it in the face, stands right back up. We can only aspire to be as Chad as Kislev, to be honest. Good times. Kostalton also still alive here, despite the gyros. I think just like trying to snipe him directly top down right now, which is, again, I don't know, maybe use that scatter shot on the Zargard. They're probably the most expensive unit here, I mean, besides the Griffin Legion, but yeah, just a little bit of a pick mistake from the Dwarfs, for sure, not having the steam gyros. I mean, the flame gyros, better against Horde, kind of non-armor factions, right? But against an armored faction that has more elite units, like Kislev definitely is, I would put them in that category. Yeah, you want the steam gyros. Granted, it's not like the armored Kossars did a ton themselves. It was really like the Zargard come in here, get some pretty good value. Even the Griffin Legion don't get a ton at the end of the day. But yeah, just nice combined across the board value win. I mean, granted, you are missing out on a huge chunk of the value kind of distributed across the units because these three gyros are all still so healthy, so like all that value is still there technically left on the table, but obviously did the damage he needed to the rest of the units to win. I'm very surprised, actually. I just looked away for a minute there and Belagar got absolutely crushed, but it's interesting to use the Snow Leopards in such a manner. They're relatively cheap. They both basically pay for themselves here, but just basically to go like 3v1 quick on a Dwarf Lord when they maybe don't expect it, I could see the utility there for sure. The Thunder, or the Gyro Bomber, actually gets some really good value. Yeah, I mean, the Flame Gyros are not bad, just could have been better, definitely. And the Thunders got run down pretty quickly. That was a big issue. Didn't have any resources to protect them. Don't have any Slayers in this build, which is definitely a problem. But that's it for me for today. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this one. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.